Scorpio, this is your week ahead astrology forecast for the week of April 25th through May 1st, 2023. I'm going to start really broad and talk about all of the major planetary aspects and transits and how they're impacting everybody. And then we're going to whittle it down and focus and start talking about how those major aspects and transits are impacting you. And then we're going to get into the decans so I can tell you specifically how these planetary movements are impacting your natal sun. So if your natal sun is located somewhere between 0 and 9 degrees Scorpio, you are a Scorpio 1. If your natal sun is located between 10 and 19 degrees Scorpio, you are a Scorpio 2. And if your natal sun is located somewhere between 20 and 29 degrees Scorpio, you are a Scorpio 3. This is a decan. There are 3 decans for every zodiac sign because it is a group of 10 degrees, and each zodiac sign has 30 degrees. So there's 3 decans in every zodiac sign. You have a particularly active week as well because we have a huge stellium. Since the sun is entering Taurus, or since the sun has entered Taurus, there's a huge stellium. There's so much energy concentrated in Taurus, and that is directly opposite from you. So if you're feeling a little off balance or pulled into a direction that you're not comfortable with, it's going to be like that for the rest of this month. Just an FYI, because there's so much energy accumulated in Taurus. We also have Mercury retrograding in Taurus, conjunct to the sun, and then conjunct at first to Uranus, and then conjunct the sun, and it's just got a lot of momentum behind it. Even though it is a retrograde, it'll be uber intense, especially for you guys since it's happening opposite your natal suns. So we'll get into those specifics later. Let's first talk about the major transits that are happening this week. So we've just passed our new moon last week. There are no major planetary aspects since Mercury went into retrograde. So in terms of major planetary aspects, we still have Pluto square the nodes. We do have we're going to get into the interaction of Pluto and Mars in particular, because those are your ruling dignitaries, and wherever they are, your attention should be. So the major planetary transits really took place last week. So let's just get right into Pluto and Mars, shall we? I have it all written down. That's what I'm looking at, guys. Yeah, I write it all down so I can kind of focus myself. It also helps me to understand it when I'm writing it. So you have Mars, which is your traditional ruler, and you have Pluto, which is your modern ruler, so it is your ruling dignitary. But Mars still has a pull on you. There's still a huge impact of Mars on all Scorpios, and where Mars is, Mars moves a lot quicker than Pluto. Pluto is sort of that fixed steadfastness of sort of your mentality, could be for a whole generation. Since Pluto can stay in one sign up to 30 years, sometimes this energy will dominate your life. But Mars is more the day-to-day and the movement and your actions. And the actions you want to take, or where your actions are focused, is going to depend on where is Mars. Always look to see where Mars is. Mars is currently in Cancer, so there's a lot of action or sensitivity when it comes to family right now. Luckily, it is natural, in a natural trine to your natal suns, depending on where your natal suns are, I should say. But right now, since Mars is central in Cancer, it's actually kind of evened out, I would say. It's in a good position for most of you. But this week in particular, tomorrow, so I'm releasing this video April 25th, right? Tomorrow, April 26th, the moon is going to conjunct Mars. And that's always a real sensitive kind of energy. I know I don't have better words for it. It is in Cancer. So the moon is in Cancer. The moon is at home, but it's extra moody. It's almost like extra sloppy when it's in Cancer, because it feels too comfortable and just lets its emotions go all over the place. And that makes being conjunct Mars really, really dangerous. So no, it's not just, okay, it's not just, so it's the moon conjunct Mars, yes. But while it's happening, this conjunction is opposite Pluto. which means it's going to be even more extreme. So the moon is conjuncting Mars and opposite Pluto. Can you say, like, there could be a big upset or a big rupturous anger or intense disappointment, or I don't know, maybe some of y'all can make it work for you, but this is just a very, like, taking emotions to the extreme, or an extremely emotional energy. So just know, and that's going to impact specific Scorpios more than others, but we're going to get into that when we get into the decans. Just know that on the 26th, it could be an extra intense day, especially where your family is concerned. Most of you are trying to this energy. You're not necessarily trying to Pluto, but you are trying to Mars. Yeah, you're not necessarily trying to Pluto, but you are trying to Mars, all of you. Some of you will be better than others, and we'll get into that. But just know that that's an extra emotional day that could impact you as well. Mars is also quincunx to Saturn this week, which means frustration when it comes to laws, rules, regulations, or contracts or commitments that you've already made. That's a more long-term. No, because Mars will move on faster. It won't last long, but it will last this week. Mars this week is also all week long. Mars is sextile to Uranus and square to Chiron. The square to Chiron means that there's real sensitivity here, because there's almost like a sense of I can't heal, or I'm still wounded here. There's also there's more prospects for injury on this day if you are super impacted by Mars. I almost feel bad for the Cancerians who are conjunct all this. I've got to say that. So there's more chance or likelihood of injury, or of an old injury coming up to cause problems. The sextile to Uranus just means that this is all going to be surprising. Kind of now, what it could, because it's a sextile to Uranus, it could be that this old suffering or this old pain, this thing that just won't stop agitating, it will actually turn into something good, and will actually end up being something that opens up a door for opportunity. Uranus can surprise you that way, and the way that it can judge something is very different. And in fact, it's intentionally rebellious and contrary. You know, if oppositional behavior disorder had a planet, it's Uranus, right? So it's just like it may surprise you how those injuries work out. It could take a surprising twist. I wouldn't depend on it, and I don't think that that's where your mind will be, but it could take a surprising twist, and that could actually save us, or save you guys this week. Pluto is square the notes. And I put Saturday through Sunday, so that's April 28th through the 29th. The moon in Virgo, it keeps clashing with Pluto. So that to me says getting things done, or getting stuff done, could be messing up routines or schedules. So getting things done is challenging. Could be challenging for you this week, because all the craziness, all the clutter, all the moon in Virgo, all the worries, all the concerns, especially concerns about health and wellness, could be messing stuff up. You know, it just could be making stuff a little bit extra messy. Don't worry, that will resolve by the end of this week, because the moon will move out quickly, but it could just intensify things. Pluto and the moon they're not really good for each other. The moon is actually in its fall position when it's in Scorpio. It's just not happy there. So there's a sense of moodiness and extra worry or concern actually clashing and messing up schedules and causing things to be rearranged that you didn't expect. Just an FYI. Let's get into the decans. Scorpio 1, so that's if your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Scorpio. This is October Scorpios. If your birthday is in October, that's you guys. Your natal suns are conjunct the South Node, have been and will be for a while. They are in opposition to the North Node, which just makes sense. They're also in opposition to the sun most of the week. They're square to Pluto, especially if you are at, they're square to Pluto. Especially if you're at the cusp. It's a perfect square, the cusp of Libra and Scorpio, but all of you. Square to Pluto. Trine to Saturn. That's always a good thing. Quincunx to Neptune. Not such a good thing. And in opposition to Jupiter if you are born at the very cusp. So the cusp of Libra and Scorpio, Jupiter is going to be in opposition to you guys. So let me say this. These are a bunch of difficult energies for you guys to handle. It could be in particularly messy for you when that moon is in Virgo. I wrote something down. I want to read it to you because all of this is cumulatively going to impact you. Misled easily by approval and contracts or laws, especially your cusps. It's the quincunx to Neptune. That's a long-term aspect. Pluto, the square to Pluto is a long-term aspect. The trine to Saturn is a long-term plus. So you've got a lot of challenges that are just going to be difficult for you over the next couple of years. But this opposition to Jupiter is just going to make it explode and make it all bigger, which makes it more of a challenge, harder to handle. And especially when your natal suns are in opposition to the sun, which is most of this week, there is this sense of easily getting duped or being able to fool yourself that signing, that whatever contracts people want you to sign, or getting people to sign contracts, or getting people going the law, by the law, follow the law, or if it's against the law, then I don't have to worry about it. There's just a sense of that's delusional. It's like you're misleading yourself. You're deceiving yourself that you can rely on the things that are supposed to be written in stone, because really nothing is written in stone. I mean, some things are, literally. But don't try to fall back too much on "you promised me," or because they said so, they'll come through. I mean, you could easily be duped in this energy because it's so intense and just overwhelming. You could easily be duped by somebody who makes a promise to you or signs a contract. Make sure you read that contract. Mercury is in retrograde after all, and that will impact all of us, especially since Mercury is in Taurus, and by the end of this week it's retrograding all the way back into the first decan. So understand there's a pull here, there's a slide here that going on, that it's just so much energy. It could really make things happening too quickly. Easily somebody could slip something in a contract that you haven't read. You just trust it. Oh, I'll be okay with them, and you won't be. This is definitely a time to, if you can't read the fine print yourself, or if you can't, you don't have the patience, or for some other reason, get a trusted friend who's going to do it for you. You definitely want to make sure that nobody's backing you into any promises that you're not going to be able to fulfill, or that aren't going to be good for you, and that you're not doing it to somebody else. Right? A sense of, trying to manipulate with, you promised me, I have it on contract here, because that may force somebody to stay or do things the way you initially want to do, but it will damage the situation between you. FYI. Scorpio 2s, you guys are trine to Mars. Okay? Now, Wednesday, the 26th, Mars, like I said, is conjunct the moon and opposite Pluto. For you, because you're trine to Mars, it could actually help you heal. Like the emotions that come out on that day could be cathartic for you. So let them come. But it'll still be an emotional day and a powerful day that's filled with emotion. But this is a catharsis that you need. This is sort of that you need to expel those feelings and detox in a way. So that trine will actually be very helpful for you guys. You could also get very emotional and end up, being defensive towards your family, and it actually working, it actually helping a situation that was going on. Your natal suns are quincunx to Venus, so there could be the ruffling of feathers or challenges when it comes to finances or your relationship, or just feeling good, feeling like you have value in yourself. This is not the greatest time to change your hair or try to look a certain way or change your house color or even pick out those things. This won't only last for a week, and so will the trine to Mars. So just be aware of these energies this week. Your natal suns are in opposition to Mercury retrograde. And that's going to be impacting you a while. I mean, into next week, I think by the end of this week, Mercury starts to retrograde all the way into Decan 1. I think you'll still feel it. This is an intense Mercury retrograde for you guys. So if things have already started, I would not be surprised if you started to feel this 2 weeks ago. That would be no surprise to me whatsoever, Scorpio. So just be aware that Mercury retrograde is in full effect, and the fact that your natal suns are also opposite to Uranus means shit's going to take you, everything's going to be a curveball. It's going to come up in the worst places, least expected, and people are going to pick arguments with you just to pick argument, or it's going to feel like they picked arguments with you just to pick arguments with you. So this is going to be an intense couple of weeks because Mercury is in retrograde for quite some time. Until May 15th, excuse me. Your natal suns are also quincunx to, hold on a second. Oh, I wrote this down. Okay, yeah. So Monday 5/1, that's the end of this week that we're covering here. The opposition between the sun. So your natal suns are going to be in opposition to the current sun, but it's on May 1st that the current sun is perfectly conjunct Mercury, listen to this, at 11 degrees Taurus. So the sun is at 11 degrees and Mercury is at 11 degrees. 11-11 conjunction in opposition to your natal suns. Finding out something or getting or having Mercury retrograde issues that challenge your ability to succeed. This will really have a pull or an impact on you. Could be all the way up through the 5th of May. But you'll especially feel it take off here. So it's especially on the 1st that Mercury, but you know what? I think because it's like at 11-11, there's a sense also of this has to be awakening, realizing it being public in a way, because it is happening in Taurus. A sense of something is brought to light that, yes, is going to be intense and definitely impact the way that you planned on succeeding or moving forward or whatever or something that you valued, but ultimately it's part of a larger plan of exposing something. Does that make sense? Please leave your comments below because I really want to know how it impacts you. And then Scorpio 3. Scorpio 3, your natal suns have a lot of long-term aspects that are impacting them. So they're trine to Neptune, very creative and faith-filled, especially since we are sextile to Pluto. So all of that is very faith-based. Getting deeper in touch with your sense of spirituality and your psychic abilities and your knowingness and awareness of your knowingness, and then finding a way to trust it so that you can create through it. This could actually be groundbreaking and really help to change the trajectory of your life, at least especially the spiritual side of things. There is an ongoing square to Saturn, which means that all of this happening will be in challenging the current circumstances, challenging the current laws, rules, regulations, and that's where you'll get pushback from. You know, just even the mentality, running into the mentality a lot of, you told me this, you promised me this, and so now you owe me this. And there's that sense of, but I'm expanding beyond that. And it's not, you know, there are going to be challenges with those traditional value systems, as well as promises or contracts that have been made, authority figures, rules, laws, regulations, challenges. People can also think that you're being bossy. When your natal sun is square to Saturn, oftentimes you'll hear, you're so bossy. Why are you being so bossy? Because people can automatically pick up on that, and that feeling of just not necessarily trusting authority, but assuming authority, and that could cause a lot of challenges. There could be some sort of taking leadership of your faith or a spiritual situation. And then we have quincunx to Jupiter. So trying to grow too fast or trying to work on this too fast, especially this week, because Jupiter, for the next couple of weeks, Jupiter isn't really a long-term aspect, guys, but it will impact you for the next couple of weeks. There's a sense of clashing with different kinds of cultures or philosophies. So there could be a pushback there, or just getting ahead of yourself and trying to make things happen too quickly. It's really hard to pull the reins in on a challenging aspect to Jupiter. So that will maybe be exactly what you need to sort of reassess what your obstacles are really going to be this week. Definitely leave the comments below, because we've got a lot of interesting stuff going on. And please do join me for your Born Without Boundaries tarot card reading for the week ahead as well. Do subscribe to the channel before you click off, because that will really help us grow over here. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye, Scorpio.